This is every driver's thoughts on the Australian Grand Prix.
Kind of was the race that we were anticipating.
I mean, I'm also racing cars that are 2 seconds slower, you know.
Difficult, not an easy thing to try and understand. And
it was just mess for everybody.
And based on Alonso's feedback, he might be out of the sport soon. Let's start with the hometown hero, who arguably had his worst Sunday in recent Formula One history. After out-qualifying Lando, the Melbourne native had a little too much power on the recon lap.
Has hit the wall. He said he's okay.
Despite his usual calm demeanor, Albert Park definitely tested his patience.
Yeah, we had a bit of an issue out of the pits with no battery basically, and then with the actual crash there was a combination of a couple of things. You know, I think a large element of just me.
The Australian labelled it as a bit of a disaster, proving that not even the drivers are quite sure exactly how much power they have each time they push the throttle. At least he feels confident with the car when it's actually predictable.
So it's not a huge surprise that we are where we are. Obviously we need to find a bit of time because the sandbags well and truly got dropped out. So let's wait and see how we can try and find some performance, but we can build a solid base from it.
Sadly, Oscar couldn't take to the track, possibly challenging the Ferraris into turn 1.
The new season is underway. They crawl off the line, and Hadjar's going to have an unbelievable chance.
But while Piastri was left watching his home race from the garage, the Mercedes garage was throwing an absolute party. If there's one man smiling today, it's your 2026 Australian Grand Prix winner, George Russell.
George Russell wins the Australian Grand Prix.
Very nice, very nice. I like this car, I like this engine.
George is on top of the world, just like you make me feel when you hit that subscribe button. He might have had a sluggish start, losing the lead to Leclerc, but Russell managed the W17 perfectly, pulling off a strategic masterstroke when the virtual safety car came out.
George Russell in, Kimi Antonelli in, they took the opportunity.
George is still adamant the other drivers might have overreacted and believes the drama it creates is great for the fans. It's clear Russell is really happy, even commending Kimi for the 1-2 finish. But speaking of his teammates, it's crazy to think that Kimi Antonelli is now entering his second season as a full-time driver, and Kimi just proved why Toto has been putting so much faith in him.
It's a Mercedes 1-2 in a season opener for the first time since 2019.
He comfortably secured second place behind George, despite having a horrible getaway off the line and dropping all the way to 7th. Kimi called the start stressful and tense, but overall the young Italian was pretty happy. What's clear is that Mercedes are definitely on a different planet to the rest of the grid, and I think it's going to take some catching up to wipe out that 1 second per lap deficit, especially in qualifying. As Mercedes was celebrating, Verstappen hated every moment, but before we get to Max, let's see what Hadjar had to say. Probably something along the lines of, "This engine is so shit, man." If there is one man who was under pressure, it was Isaac Hadjar. Sitting next to Verstappen, the French driver had to perform, and surprisingly, he did. He put the car on the second row in quali.
Before, can it be top 3? Hadjar does get there! His best ever in Formula One qualifying.
It's a perfect start to my Red Bull career.
Despite dropping a few places off the start line, Hadjar was looking at a top 5 before a mechanical failure took him out on lap 11, triggering an interesting VSC, which Ferrari missed, of course. Despite Hadjar being optimistic about the new regulations during testing and saying the car felt fun in qualifying, he was visibly devastated.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even count the amount of issues on the car I had.
I hope Isaac's confidence doesn't take too much of a hit, and the French driver can quickly bounce back to challenge Mercedes in China. But when the race stretched out, the most interesting part was the midfield, with even Ollie scoring points. Behrman ended 2025 on a high. No one expected that form to continue into the new regulations, but Ollie proved he was no fluke. He secured P7, the highest possible place and crucial points for Haas. Locked in a close fight with Lindblad, Ollie only complained about the battery, stating it takes about 5 laps to recharge it if you can't make an overtake, and the only reason he did pass the racing ball was because of a small mistake.
And Oliver Behrman, whoa, that was a late chop. Behrman saw it coming.
But Ollie complimented Red Bull, stating they always have more battery. His smooth driving style definitely complemented the flowing corners of Albert Park, and Haas could be the best of the rest in 2026. Unfortunately, it wasn't so much fun on the other side of the garage. Ocon had a horrible qualifying session. He only managed P13, but managed to get through and into P11. But in terms of the regulations, it still doesn't seem like the second Haas driver likes it. For Ocon, the best part was driving the car on a different track to get a better feel for how it behaves. But one thing is clear, and that's that Haas is definitely definitely looking to move forward, and these regulations might just have played in their favour. Ocon still maintains that overtaking is compromised by the active aero wake, but if there's one man who proved he belongs on the Formula 1 grid, it's Arvid Lindblad. Let's face it, being a rookie in the midst of regulation changes can be both rewarding and challenging, but the new Racing Bulls driver had the best of his teammate up until the final lap of Q3 and put the car in P9. But what's true about his pre-season comments is that these regs have definitely proved the ultimate rookie equalizer. He called it nuts, especially the start when Arvid found himself fighting with the Mercedes and Ferraris.
It was pretty nuts, to be honest. I don't really know what to think right now. I mean, at one point I think I was like P3 or something at the end of lap 1, which is pretty nuts to think about.
Arvid just missed out on beating Ollie, finishing the race in P8, but at least one man was having fun.
And yeah, I loved it. I had so much fun out there, and a race I'll remember forever.
Unfortunately, his teammate had a slightly steeper hill to climb, only bringing the car home in P13. Lawson previously mentioned the alien style of driving required to drive these new cars, but after P9 in quali, he was quite happy. I bet it's that sneeze that cost him on Sunday.
I'm gonna sneeze. We see.
Bless you in advance.
It's gone.
Honestly.
It's literally gone. Every time.
Where he was struggling for pace. But Liam just proved why it's so important to nail the start procedure. Just 5 seconds without battery and he lost everything he gained in qualifying. It's pretty obvious this wasn't his best race ever. And while we're talking about bad races, Audi failed their top driver. Audi's first official race as a works outfit brought heartbreak for Nico. Hülkenberg didn't even make it to the starting grid following a solid Saturday in P11.
I mean, it's a start. You know, we got the first reading, obviously, everyone did. I think today, without the issue that we've faced, I think it could have been quite a good day for the team.
Nico reiterated that driving the new cars are all about adapting quickly and that everyone should have patience.
I think it's just about, you know, learning, adapting quickly, and, you know, in these early stages of the season where, you know, everything is still so new. I think the learning curve of every driver and team is going to be huge. So I wouldn't just bank and you sit on the experience and you know, expect that to sort everything out for yourself.
At least Audi had some better news on the other side of the garage. For Gabby, things were completely different.
I'm extremely happy and the team deserves it. A lot of hard work put in, reliable car, reliable engine. Yeah, great point to start.
The Brazilian had a scare in quali with his entire electrical system almost failing and proving just how fragile these cars are.
Should I try to restart?
Let's try to restart. Let's
Wait,
try
man,
to
I'm
restart.
coming to the garage. I'm trying.
You can see the warning lights flashing on the wing mirrors, and Bortoleto is not back to the pit.
He managed Q3, but thanks to a few retirements, Bortoleto finished in the points.
That's P9. So close to P8. Fantastic race.
It was P9 for the Brazilian by the time they crossed the finish line. His closest competitor felt a little different on Sunday. Pierre has been one of the most vocal drivers in pre-season testing, but the Frenchman managed P10. He still wasn't happy with it, even calling the performance not good enough.
It improved, but not enough. So yeah, I mean, obviously I think we're all disappointed.
What was most frustrating for Pierre was just how difficult the car is to drive and that they are still not on top of energy and chassis management.
Put out there, managed to be right at the limit of the car, which has been pretty difficult to drive. So I think, yeah, it's just a big change. Still a lot of things which we need to work on: tire prep, energy management, getting on top of all the new regs.
Gasly brought the car home in the points, managing to squeak one, but it's clear that he doesn't want to be fighting in the middle of the pack. For his teammate, things went horribly wrong. Unfortunately, Albert Park wasn't as kind to Colapinto. The Argentine finished 2 laps down in P14, but that just gives you an idea of the pace difference between the back of the grid and the front.
It was just really, really close, so yeah. It's sketchy. Happy to have finished the race, to be honest. After that and after the penalty, then.
Franco didn't have the best day, but I think that he's still just happy to have a full-time seat. The harsh reality is that he will need to quickly get on top of the car to match his teammate if he wants to keep that seat. But for one team, a lot of promise went down the drain, and all the optimism from Williams now feels like part of the past. Alex was one of the happiest when testing started, but now it seems like Williams have a lot of catching up to do in race trim.
You need pace to make progress, and we didn't have it today. So honestly, that was the race. It felt like we were about half a second to a second off the midfield.
It also looked like you were about a second off the midfield, Alex. He finished P12, just about a lap off the leader. And I bet he doesn't think it's too enjoyable anymore.
Does that cost you, do you think?
No, that was like
we've got half a second to the car in front, so what can we do to get at that time?
Albon can almost write a book on all the problems Williams have been struggling with, but his teammate had one of the worst races of his career. Carlos was supposed to be the man to help save Williams, but finishing P15 more than 2 laps off the pace definitely shows the weakness of the team. He got straight to the point, and you can see the frustration.
Whenever I've been on track, I've been competitive, I've been fast, I did a good start today, but it is true we have too many issues in the car, too much weight, a lack of downforce, so we need to improve every issue.
I mean, Carlos says he feels competitive, but the car simply doesn't show it. Williams didn't even get the car out for FP2 or qualifying, leaving Carlos blind. I don't think you can blame the Spaniard. Williams definitely need to step up. For the Mexican Minister of Defense, the racing style was completely different.
Was good. It was good. You know, it's obviously a very different Formula One from what I used to remember.
History was made as Cadillac officially completed its maiden Formula One race. Checo brought the brand new American machine home in P16, which was kind of surprising given that many expected them to fail. No one was expecting them to fight for titles today, but for Checo, the only way forward is to keep improving.
It's not so enjoyable to drive as it was before. But I hope that as we gain more competitiveness, that we can have more fun in the races.
Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for the Flying Finn. Valtteri Bottas suffered a mechanical failure that brought out the second virtual safety car of the day.
Okay, Valtteri, unfortunately we need to go mode slow and we need to box.
Any lack of fate, Bottas comes to a stop.
Bottas was the one who warned about spikes in engine torque, and that's exactly what took Oscar out the race. And going into the race, Bottas said Cadillac's biggest goal was to finish the race.
In terms of looking ahead tomorrow, what is the main aim to achieve in the race, do you think?
I think we have to finish the race, ideally with both cars, and as fast as we can.
That's not very high standards. With Cadillac having to change steering wheels mid-race, it's clear that something is seriously wrong. But surprisingly, Cadillac weren't even the worst team on the grid. That honor belongs to the team everyone expected to dominate: Aston Martin. Alonso was one of the most vocal drivers about the new race heading into the season. He specifically pointed out the lift and coast everyone had to do, but the entire season is now a total disaster for the Honda-backed team. He said the best part of the race was the start, but what's shocking is that the car actually had an alarm telling the drivers when to stop.
And then we fall back a little bit to our natural position, and then we have an alarm on the car. We have to stop the car once. I think we cleared that alarm. We had another problem. We have to retard for the second time, so it was a little bit of a on-off day.
And I think I'm still detecting a little bit of sarcasm in Alonso's voice.
Sum up kind of how that went, and was it a little bit better maybe than expected?
Yeah, probably yesterday.
The only thing we could say is that the season is a disaster, and Aston Martin is going to have a hard time avoiding embarrassment in 2026. This might even be the last we see of the Spaniard. Now would be a great time to talk about Stroll, but I think he's still out on track. Bro was 15 laps behind at one stage. 15! Alonso contained his emotions somehow, but Stroll didn't hold anything back. Stroll also retired the car, capping off a double DNF for Aston Martin.
Okay, Lance, we need to box now. Lance, box now. We need to come back in the garage. We'll box now, come back in the garage.
We came back in the box. We tried some different things to solve some of the issues we had this weekend, and yeah, at least we got out and did some laps, so yeah, hopefully we can be in a better position for China.
He's been actively attacking the FIA for the new rules since the start of the season, and it doesn't seem like he has made any peace with it. Lance was one of the drivers who didn't compete in FP3 or qualifying, having sat on the side and drank a cappuccino instead.
Now, was it tough to see the cars out there and you're not being involved?
Just drinking a cappuccino, enjoying the qualifying session, so yeah, I mean, for sure.
It's clear that both Aston drivers are feeling very frustrated. But the man who beefed with everyone before the race was looking a bit better. With Piastri in the wall before the race even began, the reigning world champion was left as the sole McLaren on track, and it was a lonely, sobering Saturday for Lando Norris.
Difficult, not an easy thing to try and understand and to maximize, but I think we learned through the race.
Lando stated he was still figuring out how to drive the car in qualifying and that he was pretty happy with the performance.
I was actually pretty happy with the position in the end. I kind of was figuring out how to drive the car, maybe late, yes, but...
It's clear the McLaren is still way off, and if Max didn't start at the back, he probably would have beaten him. It was a tough one for the reigning world champ, but P5 was probably the best he could have done. Fortunately, the most decorated driver on the grid had a much better time, and it's so good to see him smiling. Lewis might have said the Ferrari is slower than a GP2 car in testing, but now I believe that was just some sandbagging. The 7-time champ had the time of his life, jumping everyone at the start and making it up to P4.
And Hadjar's going to have an unbelievable chance to go from third to first, but he didn't get a good launch, and Charles Leclerc's to the inside. He's done it! What a start for the Ferraris!
It's clear that Lewis is chasing changed his tune, saying that he wished the race was longer.
Yeah, I feel great. I feel like I could have kept going. I wish the race was longer. I think another 5 laps or so, I would have definitely, I think I would have got third. So
he was a little frustrated at one point when Ferrari didn't pit him under the VSC.
Ferrari stayed out. They've done exactly that. They're going to get their cars in.
At least one of us should have come in.
Lewis was a little frustrated after qualifying, stating that a few things went wrong.
I was feeling great, and then we went into Q2 and we had some problems with our engine, so we ended up having to come in. That put a lot of pressure on us to have to go out and just try to execute with 1 lap on the tyre that we hadn't driven yet.
But it is clear that with the uptick in performance for the Scuderia, Hamilton has completely changed his opinion from testing. He narrowly missed out on a podium, which went to teammate Charles, who was possibly fighting for a win at one point.
And they are separated across the line. Charles Leclerc completing the podium.
Charles Leclerc gave us the most exciting moment of the race right at the start.
To go from third to first, but he didn't get a good launch, and Charles Leclerc's to the inside. He's done it! What a start for the Ferraris!
For the first 12 laps, I believed he could possibly upset the Mercedes, but then it was a brutal dogfight, and Russell emerged victorious.
Process of training. Here's the extra power from Russell.
This time, he inches ahead, side by side. How much can Leclerc fight it? Not enough.
Surprisingly, Charles didn't like his performance, saying he could have gotten much more out of the car.
Very pleased is maybe a big word, but I am positively surprised for sure after qualifying yesterday. I think yesterday for sure we were not in our optimum window, but we are still very, very far off the Mercedes.
It's clear that Charles was being as diplomatic as he possibly could. In fact, when most drivers were asked about the new cars on Sunday, they were pretty timid in their responses. And then came Verstappen.
It would be a completely different story.
Max has been bitching about the cars from day one. In fact, I can go as far back as 2022 when Max already had some criticism.
I've seen the data and already on the simulator as well. To me, it looks pretty terrible.
But despite all that, Max still earned Driver of the Day. After a terrible qualifying session that once again proved the torque spikes are a problem, Max fought his way into the top 6. He had to overtake 14 cars, and by the time the checkered flag fell, he almost overtook Lando. But even this wasn't something that Verstappen truly enjoyed.
I wouldn't have wanted to start where you did, but did you enjoy it? You got the most out of it?
No, not really.
It's clear that Max doesn't care if he's 3rd or 4th fastest. Verstappen wants to win races. Fortunately, he didn't criticize the regs as much as he did at the start of the year. So the first race of the new era is in the books. Mercedes look unstoppable and Ferrari have some pace. But can Verstappen rescue this season? Let me know in the comments what you think of the race, and if you think this race was mad, check out this video on the craziest moments at the Australian GP ever. And as always, see you in the next one.